It's officially here. Survivor Season 40, Winners at War, the 20th year anniversary of the show Survivor, and it's all winners playing, all people who have won the game of Survivor in the past, 20 different people, and the new prize on the line is $2 million. So, the outcome of this is either the Queen, Sandra, who is the only person in Survivor history to have won 2 seasons, will either maintain that title by winning a 3rd season, or someone else will now tie that up and have won 2 seasons as well. So I'm really excited to see the outcome. I thought it was a really good episode last night. It did not disappoint. It was a 2-hour-long episode with 2 tribal councils. 2 people got voted out. And we're going to recap it and go over, we're going to meet the cast, and we're going to go over how it went and kind of some of the highlights from last night and anything that you missed if you didn't watch it. So let me just see what these comments are here first. Hey, Matthew, first comment to the broadcast. Hey, Sarah. Octay, you can follow me on Instagram. It's the same username as on here, NextJuice, N-E-X-Juice, J-U-I-C-E. Matthew says Rob needs to go. I tend to agree with that. Now, I do love Voss and Rob. I find him very entertaining. I find him very impressive, but I also find him to be probably the biggest threat on the island, and there's really no reason for them not to have voted him off last night, but we can talk about that in a minute. Craig, thank you for the Super Hearts, first Super Hearts of the broadcast. That is the best way to support this channel, either through Super Hearts on Periscope or through the link in the description, gofundme.com/nextjuice1. This is my website. These are roughly the people who have supported over the last 30 days. This isn't totally up to date right now because my PayPal account got banned, which has been happening to a lot of online content creators. People that are way bigger and way more influential than me have not been able to get PayPal to work with them. So rather than fight them, I'm going to be switching over to Stripe. So stay tuned for some updates. I'm hoping to launch that tonight and have all the new buttons and everything on the website up. So the website's still up and you can still go look at all the different things on my website, but there's just no more buttons to support me on there just yet because it used to be PayPal buttons. So welcome to A Moment in Time with Taylor. Thanks for watching and thanks for making this channel possible. You too, Sandy. It's Galentine's Day, so happy Galentine's Day to everybody. It is February 13th. The season premiere of Survivor was last night, February 12th, 2020. I do have Cash App, yeah, hey Thor, which is NextJuice as well, N-E-X, J-U-I-C-E. Always work. Cash App always works. Well, yeah, but it's a business, so I don't really think you're supposed to use Cash App so much. Now, live streaming is a gray area business as to, like, is this a friend who's trying to support me as a friend, or is it, a customer who's valuing the service of my channel and actually being a paying customer? Kind of a gray area, so I prefer to just use the proper business channels so that I don't get in trouble. Bob Juice. His name is Rob. Rob needs to go because he's telling everybody how to play the game. He's being himself. So, hi Jason. My boyfriend came up with a nickname for Boston Rob during last night's episode, which is Bossy Rob. I think it's a perfect nickname for him because I was certain that he was going to be voted out last night. I was like 90% plus certain that they were going to vote him out because he was using intimidation, scare tactics. He was being really intense. He was kind of like cornering people and intimidating them into working with him and not crossing him and not holding information from him, which is just not the way that Survivor is played anymore from what I've been witnessing. So I don't think he's going to make it very far, but I'm surprised that he wasn't the first to go, which was impressive. So definitely kudos to him on that. Cash App is an app that you can use to send money. Hi, Cranny Boy. Apple needs a platform like PayPal. Well, there's Apple Pay, but not everybody has an Apple phone, so. Yes, Jason, through my NextJuice account, yes. And happy Valentine's Day. Okay, let's get to it. So let's pull up the cast of Season 40, Winners at War. I am beyond excited for this. You're going to see the cast pop up on my screen. This is through the CBS website, so not only can you see all of the things, all the cast members and their bios that I'll show you right now here on the CBS website, but you can also find full episodes of the show Survivor that's uploaded after midnight Eastern Time every Wednesday after the show has aired. So it airs on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and then you can find it on their website after midnight Eastern time. If you want to pay, I think it's $5 or $6. I think it's $6 a month, and you can get CBS All Access, where you can watch the shows live. I think Amazon Prime will have them as well. I don't know if they have them live though. Okay, so here we go. Season 40. So, of course, first and foremost, we have the host, Jeff Probst, who has been the host of Survivor for 20 straight years. And it looks like my page has a little gap on the bottom, so you'll see the top of my head, but let me cut off that bottom part. There we go. Okay. There's my head. And then we have Natalie Anderson, who won San Juan del Sur. She played in, here, let me point with my pointer here. So that's Jeff Probst, the host. Natalie Anderson is the winner of San Juan del Sur. She and her twin, her identical twin sister, have competed in the Amazing Race, I think once or twice before being on Survivor. And her twin was the first person voted off of their season in Blood versus Water. But then Natalie went on to win the season, and I love her. I think she is so, so, so impressive. I love the way she plays. I love her as a person, and I wasn't so happy with how things went for her last night, but we'll get to that after I review the cast. Hey there, Jim. Hey, Michael. Thanks for retweeting and sharing. She is a hottie. I agree with this. All right, then we have Tyson. This is who my boyfriend loves and is rooting for right now. Personally, I didn't actually watch the season that Tyson won, but I did watch him play in what I believe was no, it wasn't All Stars. It was I think it was the second season that Sandra won. I forget the name of it, but he basically made a fatal error in voting. Russell Hantz was on that season. He was in an alliance, so Tyson here was in an alliance with Boston Rob and Sandra and some other people. I forget everyone who was on that season, but they were all supposed to vote Parvati out, and Russell Hantz tricked Tyson into changing his vote at the last minute, and that ended up resulting in Tyson going home. Tyson was trying to make a big move, and it resulted in him getting voted off of the island, and Boston Rob either went next or soon thereafter. So he kind of ruined it for himself and his alliance the last time he played. I think that was the last time he played, but he had previously won, which is pretty awesome, and now he is back to try to win again, and he was definitely on the hot spot last night. So I'll talk about the two different tribes and who's on which tribes and how some of the gameplay went out last night, but first let's just go through the cast. Then we have Danny Boatwright. She's pretty awesome. She was on Guatemala, Survivor Guatemala, where Stephanie and, what was his name? Stephanie and, his name's escaping me right now. They made a comeback, so they were both on that season for the second time, and she played with them, and she actually was quite the underdog story. She survived pretty well. She was certainly, I would say, the cat. She was she won that season where she was really the sole survivor. She was on the Minority Alliance. She was targeted a lot throughout that season and ended up winning. Hey, Jason. She's also a model and sports broadcaster. Danny, Victoria, hey guys. And then we have Sophie. She is so, I just love her. I hesitate to say she's so adorable because I feel like that's probably a little bit like, I don't know if that's demeaning or what, but I just love her. She's super sweet. She doesn't play very hard, so I think that she actually will make it pretty far. I can't really tell how this season's gonna go though. So here's the thing. So there's some people who play this game really hard and really aggressively. They make big moves. They kind of are power players. Now they're considered big threats and they usually have big targets on their back. So typically, like in new age Survivor, like the more recent seasons, that doesn't seem to work very well. The people who win end up being people who are either just popular, which I hate when that happens. I thought that season 39 was kind of a letdown with that with Tommy. I'm sure Tommy's a really nice guy, but I don't think he played the game better than, I really think Dean should have won that season. I didn't personally like Dean either, but he played the game better than Tommy did, in my opinion, but Tommy was more well-liked. I think also maybe Lauren advocated for him on the jury, but so there's like popularity contests, and then so it's like almost all social game. And then there's also people who basically like so either they win for that or they win because they had the best strategy and they played the best game. A little bit low-key though, so it's not so it's not so much about aggressive play as I feel like it used to be, and also not so much as on loyalty. So loyalty used to be a big thing in Survivor. People really enjoyed loyalty. They hated being backstabbed, and the juries used to be so angry and pissed off about getting voted out, which is just absurd to me. Like, they didn't know that there was only going to be one person who wins, and there's a really good chance that they're going to be voted out and probably blindsided. Blindsides are like the norm nowadays. I remember back in the Africa season where the one guy, I can't remember every single person's name, the guy that has all the tattoos, he played a couple times, he didn't win. He would tell everyone when they were going to be voted out, hey, I just want you to know. And I think that was their way of doing jury management. But then, now there's hidden immunity idols in the game. There are advantages in the game that make it a lot harder to do that, because if someone knows that they're going to be voted out, then they can play an idol, or they can switch up the game and kind of turn it on its head. So now they do mainly blindsides, which is where the person doesn't know they're about to be voted out. They have no idea, and then they're voted out unexpectedly. If you fly under the radar, you can win. You can, but some people don't respect that, because you can also be viewed as a goat. So a goat is like a sacrificial goat that basically people want to take you to the end because they know no one's going to vote for you, because no one respects your game. Because you weren't good at challenges, you weren't helpful around camp, you didn't strategize, you just went along with whatever the wind blew. Maybe you were loyal, maybe you weren't. You basically just wanted to stay with the majority. Other people told you what to do, and you just followed people around. So in that case, usually those people do not win. And sometimes there's people like that aren't even necessarily goats. They don't necessarily fit into the category of goat completely. Like, sometimes there's like a really strong power player like Kim, who's playing this year, and then her right-hand person, which I believe her name was Chelsea. I think her name was Chelsea, and they both made it to the final three, but Kim ultimately ended up winning because she was the best. She played the game the best. So you have to play good, but then, like you said, be a little bit under the radar too, and kind of like gentle and maybe soft-spoken enough to really pull off a win, I think. So it's this really, that's why I enjoy watching this game. It's like a big social experiment, and there's so many nuanced layers to how this works. Now in this season, what's amazing about it is that some of these people played Survivor 15 plus years ago, and they've known each other for that many years. They've played together multiple times. They're still in contact. They're close friends outside of the game. 2 of the players are married. They met on Survivor, fell in love on Survivor, ended up getting married 15 years ago, and now have 4 children. So obviously there's a strong alliance there that has nothing to do with the game. So there's people that have played together before, they trust each other, and they're friends, and they play poker together. There's this whole thing called the Poker Alliance that came up last night. So that's an interesting whole new layer, because a lot of times in Survivor, it's a bunch of new people that have never met before, they've never played before, they've never played together before, and they don't know, they can lie about their age, they can lie about their, what they do for a living, whether or not they have kids, whether or not they're married. Johnny Fairplay lied about his grandma dying. Like, there are things that they could get away with that in this season, there was none of that introductory, oh, hey, I'm so-and-so and I do this for a living. Everyone knows everyone. They already know. Not only do they know who they are, what they do, and what their personal life is like, they also know that they've won $1 million before, because they all have. But they also know, like, their kids' names, and, they know these really personal things. Plus, they know how they play the game. They know the way that they typically play. So some of these people are going to have to change the way that they play to not be so predictable that they can easily be outplayed. Hi, John. What about sheep? Yeah, so sheep and a goat would be pretty similar in this case. Sheep used to be sacrificed a lot back in the day as well. Hi, Matt. How are you? If you guys like coffee and tea, my friend Matt just came in the chat here on Periscope. I'm going to put his website in the chat. He sells really awesome organic coffee, tea, skincare products, protein shakes, and it's mighty, and even hot chocolate, which I didn't realize until recently. It's mightymatt.myorganogold.com, and his username there is the Gold Cafe. Hey, cool kid. Hi, Eunice. My beeper number. I don't have a beeper, guys. So I missed some of these comments. Let me just read them real quick. Okay, I think I got it all. Hi, Volcanic. I like your name. Don't let... What? No, Boxing, get out of here with that. You are You are in the wrong broadcast for that. Okay, so back to Sophie. I thought what was an interesting little play out last night was that I felt like Sophie has a little bit of a crush on Yul. So Yul is this guy, and he's the one I'm rooting for. And I thought he did really well last night. I mean, he's the same person. A lot of these people, I don't know if you guys felt this way or not, but like, they're the same, they have the same voice, they almost look the same, even if some of these people are a lot older, and they play the same, and they just, I mean, they're like the same person, they have the same personality, which is really cool because we haven't seen them in so long, but it's also, I don't know how it's going to work for them because people are already on to them. They already know, how they play and how they won last time. So I do think they kind of have to switch it up. Now, I feel actually personally like Yul is playing a little bit harder than he did last time, which may or may not work out for him. So I was going to say this earlier. Part of the problem with this, not the problem, it's good, but part of the challenge for these people playing this season is that they don't know how the jury's really going to vote. Like, is the jury going to... Personally, I feel like the jury is only going to vote for someone who they really respect and who played hard and played well. They are not going to vote for someone based on popularity. They're not going to say, oh, well, I really like this person and then vote for them. Now, that's definitely going to come into play for people like Amber and Rob who are married to each other. And if they win the money, then they both win the money. So obviously, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to vote for your wife or your husband every time because if they win $2 million, so do you. So in a way, you're voting for yourself, which no one else can do. So in that one instance, but I really don't think that those two are going to be making it too far to the end and probably not to the jury, assuming that the blue team's going to get their heads out of their butts and vote Rob out, but we'll get to that. I already responded to that comment, so Matthew, I already talked about flying under the radar and all that, so I don't know, maybe you didn't hear me? I don't know. I'm on YouTube right now too, so if you are having trouble, if there's a connection issue on Periscope, you can watch on YouTube if you prefer. So Sophie, I would say, is an example of someone who didn't play that hard. I didn't find her to be wildly impressive. She's not like a challenge beast. So in this way, though, she's not going to have a big target on her back, and she's probably going to be able to go pretty far, assuming that these people are going to do that, bring people along with them that they think they can beat, rather than only wanting to play. Like, there was definitely this element of the old school versus the new school, like, oh, these young, Boston Rob said, these young kids aren't going to know what hit them, and they want to have, like, the veterans, all there together at the end. So there's some element of that as well. And then these new kids, like Adam and Nick, they've been watching Survivor their entire lives. They're, like, in their 20s, maybe early 30s, and they're starstruck. Like, they're starstruck by Boston Rob and by Parvati and Sandra, and they're just like, oh my god, I'm so excited to be here with you. And they're like these, very much like sheep, like what Volcanic said. They're just like these puppy dogs that are like all excited, wagging their tails. Oh my god, I'm so glad to be talking to you. So they have this, like, they're a little bit blinded by the celebrity too, which is a whole nother level, again, a whole nother layer, so. I don't see any other comment, Matthew, so you might have to type it in again. Bye, Gary. Oh, thank you for the super hearts, Gary. I appreciate that. Okay. So that's Sophie. I forget the name of the season she won. I don't remember all of these people's, what seasons they won, but if you click into their bios, you'll see it here. She won Survivor South Pacific, season 23. I'm not going to do that for every single person, because I know some of you guys probably already know, and it's not really that important what seasons they won. It's more important how they play the game, in my opinion. That's what I'll be focusing on today. Jeremy, love Jeremy. I didn't watch the season he won either, but I did watch the season he was in Blood versus Water with his wife. His wife was one of the first people voted out, and him and Natalie, who I talked about, they played together. So Natalie won that season, and her and Jeremy were very loyal to each other when they played, and I really liked them. They're both very likable, definitely strong social game players, and they were loyal to each other. So after Jeremy got voted out, Natalie basically avenged him by voting out and orchestrating a blindside of the person who voted Jeremy out in the end. And when it came time to the jury, Jeremy was on the jury. When it came time for Natalie to argue her case, he went to bat for her. He said, here's the thing. I think all of us need to basically let go of our anger towards being voted out and whatever, emotion we're having, and we need to vote for the person who played the best game. And he's like, and we all have to admit that Natalie, I think what he said, she balled out, you know, she just did amazing, we have to give it up for her, we have to vote for her, it just is what it is, you know. And he basically advocated, which is very rare, you don't find jury members doing that a lot. Sometimes they do, but it's pretty rare, and for him to do that was really pretty awesome. I thought that was awesome, and it was true. I mean, I really think Natalie did really well, and she ended up winning, so that was pretty cool. Now, that relationship between Natalie and Jeremy blew up in their faces last night, which I'll get to in a minute. So here's Sandra. She's the queen. She's the one I was telling you guys about. The first season she won was season... what number was it? Season 11 or something? It was Pearl Islands. And then she won a second season again, which I don't remember the name of that. I'm sure, whatever, we'll just click into it. I said we weren't going to do this for everyone, but Heroes versus Villains. Yeah. Yep. And she was also one of the 2 idols last season on season 39, Island of the Idols, which it was her and Boston Rob. So she's the only person who's ever won twice, and Boston Rob is the person who has appeared on Survivor more than any other player. You could probably see that in his list here. So he won Redemption Island. Okay. I didn't watch that one that he won, but I did watch the All-Star season, which I believe is where he met Amber and where they fell in love, and they ended up being the final 2, which was amazing, and I saw him in Heroes vs. Villains. So Heroes vs. Villains was the one where Tyson messed up that I was talking about earlier, when he ended up casting his vote for, or changing his vote from Parvati, which resulted in him going home. Tyson here. So that was Heroes vs. Villains. So again, remember, a lot of these people have played together before. Then we're on to Ben. Ben is a former Marine, and something that really stood out to me in his season was that he has PTSD, so unexpected loud noises can really send him into a state of really extreme fear and terror. And they had put some bamboo, some kind of wet bamboo on the fire, and it started popping and cracking really loudly, and he had a really hard time with that. He ended up having to go into the ocean and kind of like take some time to himself and kind of like get his head on straight again. But he did redeem himself from that and ended up ultimately winning that season, which was really impressive. He did a really good job, but last night he did not do that well. Now, he was aware of it, and it was really funny to watch. He was just basically in a conversation with Boston Rob, and Rob was basically saying, oh man, you know, I'm asking you a question, you're withholding information from me, it's not getting us off to start on a great foot, blah, 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 frickin' blah. And they should have been targeting him all along, so who cares what he says? You're not going to bully me into giving you information, which is the most valuable thing you can get in Survivor. But instead, he, you know, Ben totally falls for it. He's totally starstruck by Boston Rob, this iconic Survivor player, and he ends up telling him everything. And he admitted that he totally messed up by doing that. And Boston Rob did not end up going home last night, which was insane. Oh, and I didn't mention this, so there's 2 twists in this 3 twists, really. The first twist is that it's for $2 million instead of $1 million. The second twist is that there's Edge of Extinction, which they had on season 38, but it's they all know about it ahead of time. So everyone knows there's an Edge of Extinction, which in season 38 they didn't know. So Edge of Extinction is a second island. I guess it's really a third island because they're each on different islands to begin with. It's a separate island, put it that way, where when someone's voted out, they go to the Edge of Extinction, and then they end up staying there until a certain time in the game. I don't know when, maybe sometime like right around the merge, where they get the chance to battle each other and come back into the game. So they play a challenge just against the people who are on Edge of Extinction, the people who've been previously voted out. But the twist there, thanks the real, the twist there on the island is there's a big sale. And if you've had enough and you don't want to live on the Edge of Extinction because you spend a lot of time alone, the people that come there might be kind of driving you crazy, you are living in, you're not playing the game, so you're basically just surviving, you're just there, you know, eating whatever food you can catch and making fires, and, you know, you remove the entire strategy and the whole point of the game, which some people probably drives them kind of nuts, and you're away from your kids and, you know, all these things, so you can actually raise that sail and quit. So if you raise the sail, you can just basically quit the game. I don't foresee anyone doing that, but I did have some viewers last night when we were watching the season premiere at the little watch-along party on Periscope say that they think Amber is going to do that. She's going to raise the sail and she's going to end up quitting. I don't know that I see that happening because, I mean, she is married to Boston Rob, and I don't think he would ever be able to, like, get past that, so I'm not sure that'll happen, but it is possible. Yep, so then the third twist, that's right, Matthew, is the fire coins, which Adam, I believe, was it Adam? I think Adam was saying he believes that this is going to become a really big part of Survivor in the future. So not just this season, but it'll become a new part of Survivor, perhaps, which is fire coins. So they're like little doubloons, they look like, and every player starts with one. So when you start the game, everybody gets one. When you're voted out, you end up giving your coin, or however many coins you have at that time, to another player. So there's little treasure chests with everybody's name on it, and you put your coin or coins into whoever you want to give those to, and then the next day they'll wake up and it'll be in their bag, or they'll have gotten it somehow from the production team where they'll have more coins. Now there's also a price list when they get to their camp about the different things they can buy with their fire coins. So there's things like food, there's like pizza and beer and wine and these things, but there's also advantages. So advantages in the challenges, the immunity challenges and the reward challenges. And there's also immunity idols. You can actually buy an immunity idol with the tokens. So I think an immunity idol is 3 tokens and an advantage is 1 token. Does that sound right? I might be wrong about that, the pricing. I don't have the price list in front of me. Maybe I should have taken note of that, but you can see it on the episode if you watch it yourself. So what's interesting as well is that people on the edge of extinction can earn more fire coins, fire tokens, when they do certain things. So for example, one person, I won't say who yet, one person last night who had been sent to the edge of extinction had the option. She had to basically like hike this long trail and climb this basically mountain, and ended up finding a hidden immunity idol, which she could sell to someone in the game. Now, I love that because I'm an entrepreneur, and the idea of running my own business from the edge of extinction rather than just existing there and being on the edge of extinction, but really being able to still kind of influence and participate in the game, I think is really smart and genius, and I just love it so much. And it's like business, you're like selling things, you're selling goods, to people on other islands, and I just kind of love that whole concept. Hey, Dog Dave. So they end up basically, so you can sell it to someone for 1 fire token. So basically then the person wakes up with that in their bag where it's like, hey, here's a hidden immunity idol, you can buy this for 1 fire token, and then that fire token goes to the person on the edge of extinction. And the edge of extinction has the same price list. So they can buy food, they can buy advantages, and they can buy hidden immunity idols. And they can buy drinks as well. So pretty cool stuff. I think that those are all the twists that are coming to mind right now, so let's get back into the cast. We have Michelle Fitzgerald. She's a really nice girl. She's a beautiful girl, but she did say in last night's episode, and I totally agree with this. Hey, Steve. Thank you, Shara, for the super hearts. Brewster. We'll talk about that. Let me finish talking about Michelle, and then I'm going to answer some of these comments. So, Michelle said last night in the episode that she feels like she has something to prove. And I totally agree with that, because she, on her season, which I forget what island it was on, what season it was, she was up against Aubrey and she was up against Ty. And I mean, I honestly felt like either one of them should have won over her, especially Aubrey. I thought Aubrey played a pretty good game, and somehow Michelle ended up winning. So I think that was kind of a popularity vote. She had maybe a stronger social game. People liked her more, or maybe people didn't feel as burned by her. So that's part of this thing with like a GOAT, or however you want to look at them, people who don't play as hard. The people of the jury aren't as bitter towards them because they don't feel like they orchestrated this blind side to get them out, or they betrayed them, or they did something bad. They kind of view them as more innocent, more likable, and they have less resentment towards them, so they're more likely to potentially vote for them. Now, there's other things that come into play as well. Like sometimes if someone's really young, people don't want to vote for them because they feel like this young person, if they were to get $1 million, would just squander it and they wouldn't manage it well. So even that, like even how the money is going to be used and managed does come into play with votes at the end, which really shouldn't, because it doesn't have anything to do with the 3 things you're supposed to rate them on, which is their ability to outwit the other players, their ability to outplay the other players, and their ability to outlast the other players. Those are the 3 tenets of Survivor, which is outwit, outplay, and outlast. And sometimes it's just like out charm, you know, which is their social part is supposed to be part of outwit. I kind of I'm surprised by how much Survivor focuses on the social aspect and people's social game, because to me, being witty and outwitting people isn't really about having good social skills. It's about outthinking people, which doesn't really mean that I'm friendly and nice and everybody likes me. It's about trickery. It's about deception. So I think that they kind of focus on the wrong thing with that a lot, but maybe that's just a personal opinion. Let me read some of these comments here before we go on to Wendell there. Okay. Boston Rob is upset today? What do you mean upset? Oh, you mean because of Amber? Let's go, Rob. I just had a keto dump. Life-changing. Are you talking about a poop? Good job. Congratulations. What is your life like now? What was your life like before and what's it like now? Voted out people. Yeah. Voted out people can win coins and get back in the game. They can't buy their way back into the game, so they can buy an advantage in the challenge to get them back in the game, which they should buy, and they should buy as many as they can. So different advantages in a challenge would be something like you get to skip to the end. So let's say 10 people are playing a challenge. So a lot of times what the challenge will be like is there will be 10 people that play, and then 5 people can go to the next stage. So the first 5 people to finish stage 1 of the challenge go on to stage 2. And then out of those 5 people, only, the first 3 to finish there go on to stage 3. So then there's 3 people, and whoever finishes first out of those 3 wins. Well, if you have an advantage, you can fast forward yourself to those final 3. So then everybody else, all other 9 people, let's say, they all compete through stages 1 and 2, and then only 2 of them can go through to stage 3 because you've bought your way into that spot. So that's one example of an advantage. Another example of an advantage is actually knowing what the challenge is going to be ahead of time, or not only knowing, but also getting the opportunity to practice. So they'll set up like an actual challenge ahead of time on the island in a private area where only you can go, and you can practice the challenge for as long as you want before actually having to go and do the challenge. So there's a lot of different ways that could play out, and how it really could give someone an advantage. But the coins aren't necessarily, you can't buy yourself back into the game, but you could buy an immunity idol, which you can use if you get back into the game, that you can use in the game. But that's, to me, is kind of like maybe they'll have a limit where you can only buy one advantage. So once you buy an advantage, then yeah, you'll just basically buy as many immunity idols as you can, because what else are you going to buy? You're not going to sit there and buy pizza and beer. It doesn't make any sense. You're not there to like eat pizza and beer, right? The rest of your life is for that. Survivor is 39 days, and it's not about eating food, it's about winning. So if you think that eating pizza is going to give you more strength in the challenge, so you'll be more clear-headed and you'll be able to really focus and you'll be stronger, you can have an argument for that. But wine and beer, this isn't a time to party, and this isn't a vacation, right? Yeah, you're in Fiji, but it's not about getting drunk. And a lot of times that happens. Getting drunk on this show ruins people's games sometimes, because they'll get drunk and then they're just like spilling out information, or they're like being really bossy, or like just, it's not impressive. People don't find drunk people wildly impressive. So alcohol is something to be avoided on Survivor. If you ever go play, avoid the alcohol, because it's not going to help you. Okay, so Brewster said, why give Sandra an idol? So if you think about the way that played out, Natalie is against Rob. Who else is against Rob? Who's public enemy number 1 for Rob right now? Is Sandra. Sandra's like, I want revenge, I'm angry, I'm going after him, I can't believe he didn't tell me he was playing again, I feel completely betrayed. She orchestrates the thing to get Amber out. She is like, and Rob is part of the reason that Natalie ended up going home. So she's going to go after someone who's going after the same person. And plus, Natalie and Sandra might have a relationship outside of the game. So they might even already have connections and feel like they can trust each other, and they have some loyalty to each other, and they want to play together. But also, Natalie could be thinking strategically that these people aren't... Sandra has never won an individual immunity challenge. She doesn't do well in challenges. She is someone who might not get votes from the jury at the end. So you can bring her all the way to the final 3, and this jury is most likely not going to give Sandra a vote. 1, because she's already won twice, but secondly, because she doesn't really play a wildly impressive game per se. Now, yes, she's won twice, so that is impressive. And she does pretty well with convincing the jury, but a lot, like when she beat Russell and Parvati Russell and Parvati played a really great game. Sandra didn't win any challenges. She basically got taken along with Russell and Parvati because Russell thought that he could beat her because he thought, I played this really awesome game. No way anyone's going to vote for Sandra. And people just hated Russell so much that they voted for Sandra because Sandra's whole presentation to the jury was like, listen, I've hated Russell the entire time. He sucks. I've been trying to get him out this whole time. I tried to get you guys to help me get him out. None of you guys wanted to work with me. So that's why we never were able to get him out. And now we have to sit here and deal with him. And he's still here and it sucks. And yeah, people hated him, so they voted for her. And Parvati too closely associated herself with Russell, so they voted for Sandra. But that wasn't necessarily because Sandra played this great game. It's just because people didn't like Russell and Parvati. And I don't think that's how this jury on this season is going to play. So Sandra's going to have to make pretty impressive moves and do things that are going to really, get her those votes to the jury at the end. And I think last night's move was pretty good. But you also heard her name being thrown around a lot. People were targeting her, and they were targeting Nick, which I was surprised by. I don't know why. They kept saying, like, Sandra or Nick, which, to me, those two people are completely different players, and I don't know why those were, like, the two people they were focused on. But Nick is the most recent winner in this season, and Sandra, obviously, is a big threat because she's won twice before, and she's the queen, she's popular, people really... love her. And she's not a threat in challenges, which means she has that ability to go really far because people don't necessarily target her because she's not going to win the immunity idol over you. So you don't necessarily need to take her out because you can always beat her in the challenges. So taking her along increases your chances of winning immunity yourself. Fire tokens burn a hole in your pocket. Yes, Danny. Exactly. Oh, that's so good. Sneaky. Hi, Stefan. I'm good. How are you? Jacob. Hi. Can voted out people get back in the game somehow? It's a challenge. So they compete against each other in a challenge and one person comes back in. At least that's how they did Edge of Extinction on season 38. So that's how it'll be. It'll be like an immunity challenge, but instead of winning immunity, you just win yourself back into the game. So let's say it's halfway through the game. I think it'll be a little before that, but let's say there's 10 people that have been voted out. They're on Edge of Extinction. There's 10 people left in the game. Well, then they'll bring those 10 people off Edge of Extinction. The 10 people that are still in the game will observe. They'll be like an audience. They'll just sit there and watch. They don't compete. And those 10 people will battle it out, and whichever one person wins will earn themselves back into the game. So now there will be 11 people still in the game. And all those other 9 people go home for good. Some of them might end up on the jury. I'm not exactly sure how the numbers are going to work out for it. Thank you, Lynn. It's actually a romper. It's like a full-length, really flowy romper. Me and my boyfriend are celebrating Valentine's Day tonight because we have the kids tomorrow night. But happy Galentine's Day to you and all the other ladies out there. Take a sip of water. I love Survivor. I've been so excited to start this season. Like, you guys know, I mean, for the last 2 months, I've been just, like, binge watching all the old episodes. It makes it more entertaining, though. Sandra and Rob are still fighting from last season. Well, they didn't really fight last season, right? I'm drunk all the time. Fastest talker on Periscope. Yeah, when I get really excited. So I talk this fast about Survivor, politics, philosophy. But Survivor's my most recent passion. The Blue Tribe should have lost so they could have voted Rob out. They did lose. They were the first to lose. Hi, Sonam. Roxanne. You think Wendell will win it all? I don't think so. I don't think Wendell plays hard enough to earn votes. But he can go far. That's the thing is, like, a lot of these people can go really far because they don't play that hard. So, again, they don't get targeted. But Wendell, I think he only won, like, 1 or 2 immunities during his season. I don't think he's a huge challenge beast. Hi, Jose. And Trump, too. We're not getting into that. Okay, on to Wendell. So... Wendell, I feel like, is actually somewhat in the same category as Michelle. Like, and not really. Let me separate the two. They're not in the same category. Wendell basically allied with Dominic, who pretty much carried him through the entire game. So I talked about Kim and Chelsea and how Kim was basically like the mastermind and then Chelsea was her right-hand woman. Wendell was the right hand to Dominic. Dominic just happened to get voted out. So... Or no, he didn't actually. Actually, Dominic... Oh, that's what happened. Okay, so Wendell was the result of the first ever in 36 seasons of Survivor. It was the first time ever that there was a tie for the winner. So it was Wendell, Dominic, and I forget the name of the other girl. And there was 10 people in the jury, and 5 votes went to Wendell and 5 votes went to Dominic. So what ended up happening, so usually what happens is the jury votes for a winner, and then Jeff says, all right, I'll see you at the finale. And he flies away in his helicopter, and they don't know who wins until they all meet back together in Los Angeles, and they have the big reveal of who the winner is. Well, in this case, he came back out, and he said, I'm going to count the votes, or I'm going to read the votes. And everyone's like, what the hell? Like, you're not supposed to read the votes now. Like, this is something that happens in the finale, you know? Like, we're not supposed to find out who wins tonight. But what ended up happening was, it was Laurel. Laurel was the third girl. So what ended up happening was it was a tie. For the first time in 36 seasons, there was a tie between him and Dominic. So then what ends up happening in that case, the third person, Laurel, in the final three, becomes the 11th member of the jury, and she single-handedly picks who wins the $1 million. And she was closer to Wendell, and Wendell had used an idol to save her in a previous immunity challenge. He had spent a lot of time and energy trying to make her feel comfortable, make her feel appreciated, and keep her loyal to their alliance. And it worked so well that he ended up winning just because of that one relationship that he'd fostered. And I thought that was genius. So in a way, it was kind of like a, you know, that's what they kept criticizing them for. It was like the Dom and Wendell show, and it was like, if you guys both make it to the end, you're splitting the votes between yourselves. And that's exactly, not only did they split them, I mean, it was an exact 5-5 tie. So Wendell, and I mean, he won by a hair. And really, Dominic was more of the power player, but Laurel had a better relationship with Wendell, so Wendell ended up winning. So that's a pretty close call. So Wendell wasn't like a wildly impressive player, in my opinion. He's a really nice, cool guy. He makes furniture. He makes everything around camp really nice, really comfortable, really fun. You know, he's a funny guy. So he's got that going for him. Pineapple pizza. I want Ed's chocolate-covered strawberries. We have some in the fridge if you want some. Craig got pineapple pizza. Oh my god, that's hilarious. A voted out person can win the game. Yes, that actually happened on season 38. Chris Underwood won the game after earning his way back in by winning the challenge from Edge of Extinction. And he made a big move right at the end where so typically what happens at the end, it used to be a final two. So two people would go to the end, and it would be a vote. You would vote out the third person, and then two people were left over in the end. Then it became final three, so the same thing. There'd be four people, and then you'd vote out the fourth person. There's a final three. But around season 30-something, I believe, they, maybe like even 35, I don't know, they ended up switching it. So now there's the one person who wins the immunity challenge when there's four people left. So let's just say person A, okay? Persons A, B, C, and D. So person A wins the immunity challenge, and they're guaranteed a spot in the final three. Now, instead of the rest, all four of them voting and figuring out who they're going to vote out and then have a final three, now this person has to choose one person to go with them to the final three. And the other two people, so let's say they choose person B, the other two people, person C and D, have to make fire against each other. So it's a race to see who can make fire first and fastest and make it big enough that it burns this like rope that goes across two posts, and when the rope burns it raises a flag. So whoever can do that first wins a spot in the final three. So there's a lot of different strategy that comes into that. We don't have to get into that a lot right now because it's not really relevant to this episode. For what reason did I bring that up? Oh, so what Chris did, his big game move that had never happened before in the history of Survivor and ended up ultimately winning him the game, was that he gave his immunity necklace to, I believe, Julie, and therefore gave immunity to Julie and chose, what was that guy's name, that country boy? I can't remember his name. I think it starts with a C. He basically said that Julie and that guy were safe, so he got to pick two people out of the final three and then put himself at risk where he made fire against Rick Devens, and the two of them had to make fire against each other, and he ended up winning. So he earned his way into the final three rather than just coasting in with the immunity necklace, and that was really smart because if Devens had made it to the final three, he had no confidence that Julie or that other kid were going to be able to make fire against Rick Devens, and he thought, well, if Devens wins and makes fire first, then he's going to end up winning the game because everybody loves him. He's awesome, and we all do love him. I mean, he's probably America's favorite as well. So by him making fire himself and having some control over it and getting Devons out, he ended up winning the game. So that actually did happen. That was the first time Edge of Extinction was ever a part. You have no furniture, poor you. We should chip in and buy you some furnishings from the thrift store. I do have furniture. This is where I do my yoga, so I have a lot of space. I'm a yoga teacher. And maybe we can ask Wendell to make me some furniture, because that's what he does. He's a furniture maker. You take this Survivor show seriously. I mean, I guess. I find it very interesting. This must be recorded? ODB, this is about last night's episode. How could it be recorded? I can make fire, rub 2 sticks together. You actually can make fire like that. Not really with 2 sticks, but 2 cut in half pieces of dry bamboo. If you rub them together fast enough, the 2 sides to each other, and you have coconut husk dried in the middle, and you drill a little hole, and you get the friction up enough, and you kind of blow on it, you can actually end up starting a fire through friction alone. But it's really hard. So flint is a lot easier. They give them flint. This show needs to reinvent itself. I think it has, Bubba. I don't know if maybe you didn't watch last night's episode, but I've been talking about it for an hour now, so I'm going to just go back to the cast. Okay, so we have Adam. He ended up winning a couple seasons ago. He's one of the most recent winners. He's not the most recent. I think he was a couple seasons ago. And he is one of the younger players, obviously, this season. Really nice guy. And his mother, last time he played, had stage 4 lung cancer. So I don't know if she is still with us, if she has passed away. But I know that him sharing that story to the jury at the end, he kept it to himself until the very end. I think that really helped to get basically people to really feel connected and attached to him, and basically zoom them out from the game and what he might have done within the game to really connecting with him as a person. But he did play a really good game. He's a really good strategic player, and he bonded really well with Denise last night, which almost ended up getting him out of the game. So we'll talk about that when we get into it. Yul, this is my boy. This is the guy that I'm rooting for. He won Cook Islands, and he's a very, very strategic player. He's a very smart man with a lot of number knowledge, but everybody knows that because everybody knows everything about all these players. So he's most likely going to have a target on his back. He's also pretty strong athletically, but what benefits him is that he's very soft-spoken, he's very kind, he's very gentle, and I think people really resonate with that because he doesn't bully people over, he doesn't steamroll them, he doesn't play too hard, he plays it really kind of close to his chest and calm. So that energy is really nice to have around. He's a very friendly person, so I felt like he was playing pretty hard last night, but I was impressed with his gameplay, and I thought he did really well with building important alliances from the get-go, so we'll see how that plays out. I get a little nervous when someone has a lot of airtime on Survivor. Oftentimes they go home that night, so I was a little worried last night, but he's still safe. No, ODB, that was season 39. These are all people that have won before. The longest running reality show and one of the first. It's 20 years. This is their 20th year. It's their 40th season, and it's winners that were all people who've won the show before. Michelle is beautiful. Yeah, she is. Is Jeremy still safe? Yes, he is. So here's Sarah. She is a police officer. Her and Tony played together before, and they're both police officers. What I remember the most about her was she knew Tony was a cop, even though he was denying it. So he was like, no, he's like, I'm a construction worker, I'm in construction. She's like, no, you're a cop. And he was like, what? No, I'm not a cop. She's like, nah, are you sure? She's like, I'm pretty sure you're a cop. I can tell when people are cops. And I thought that was so cool that she could actually do that. It was really impressive. But then he did end up eventually telling her that he was a cop, but she had a bad outcome that season. They ended up getting separated. She ended up getting moved to a different tribe, and when they got, it was the strength, what do they call it? Brains versus beauty versus brawn. It was one of those seasons. They've done 2 seasons like that. And they were both on the brawn team, but then when the mix happened, not the merge, but when they switched up the tribes, she got separated from most of the brawn members, so she ended up allying herself with some of the other people, and when she was reunited at the merge with these people in the brawn tribe, she was a little bit power struck. She was in the middle of the two tribes, and she realized that she was a swing vote, and she played it a little bit. She played it poorly. She didn't pick a side, which ended up ultimately in her going home. She came back again in a future season and played against Tony and Sandra. She voted Tony out, and then she also voted Sandra out, and then she ended up winning the game. So I don't know if she voted Tony out, actually. I know Sandra did. I think that's my guy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jeremy's your guy. Let me check. That sounds right. Yeah, Jeremy. Yep, Jeremy's awesome. I love him. I already talked about him, but I'll show you him real quick. Jeremy is this dude. He is awesome. I freaking love him. He's a fireman. He's just like a really good guy, and I didn't actually watch the season where he won, but I would like to see that. He's smart. And he was like, he's just funny. He criticizes people for being focused on the wrong things. Like, people get all excited about food, and he's just like, what is wrong with these people? Why are they all talking about how hungry they are? Like, don't you realize you're on Survivor? So I like him. All right. So then we have Amber and Rob. So we've talked a lot about Boston Rob already. This is his wife, Amber. On season 8, I believe it was, Survivor All-Stars, they both ended up, they met each other, they fell in love, they made it to the final 2 together, and Amber ended up winning that season. So they've been married now for 15 years, and they have 4 daughters, and now they're both back to play again. We'll talk about how things went for them last night in a minute. We have Parvati, who's also one of the most infamous players in Survivor history. She basically uses flirting and charming to, especially on men, to win and get her ahead in the game. I don't think it's going to be that effective this season because everybody knows that, but some of the younger guys it may be effective with, so we'll just have to see. Kim was a super impressive player on her season. She was so good. She was like the kingpin her entire season, won the game. Really, really, really great player. What's interesting is last night we got to see her be vulnerable. We got to see her feel insecure, like she was going home, like her name was on the chopping block, and see her feel emotional, and for her to have that experience of being on the outs, which she never was the last time she played. So that was actually really kind of cool to see that, to see a different side to her. And she didn't go home, so. Nobody goes home, right? Right now they're just going to edge of extinction, so they don't technically go home. Here's Denise. So Denise is really awesome. Again, a lot of these women who've won, I think they're just so awesome. Really popular players. Denise, on her last season, had to play through every single tribal council. She went to every tribal council from the very beginning, the first tribal council of the season, all the way through to the end. There was not a single tribal council that she did not attend, and she ultimately ended up winning the game. And that was a big part of her argument, was that I am the sole survivor. I survived every single tribal council this entire season, so how can you not vote for me, basically. And she was good. She's a challenge beast. She's really strong. She's just an impressive person all around. She builds good alliances. She's a sex therapist, so she's really good at listening and dealing with people and observing. You have Tony. He plays hard. He's super scrappy. I mean, he does have relationships with Sarah and Sandra. They're both on his tribe, so that's probably going to benefit him, at least for now, but he's going to be a huge target from the jump. He made a comment last night that had me laughing so hard, how he said it was so hard for him not to just make a beeline to go and start searching for idols right away, because that always puts a target on your back. If you disappear too early on, people know you're looking for an idol, and they try to vote you out immediately to either flush your idol or to send you home for even basically trying so hard. You have to play it a little bit more, like a little bit more low key. So he learned that from the second time he played, and he made sure not to go searching for an idol last night. Nick is the most recent winner who I talked about. He's from Kentucky. He is Elaine's choice to win. Elaine was one of the most popular players from last season, on season 39, and he's a really nice guy. This one girl on his season made a comment about his blue eyes, and I noticed that he has this really, his teeth are perfectly straight, and even though he's not necessarily the most conventionally attractive person, he's very charming, and definitely his social game is one of his biggest strengths. And what was something funny, and I didn't notice him do it last night, but in his season, he tried to name every alliance he made. He would have a name for it, and that became like that really solidified the alliances. So it wasn't just, oh, I'm in an alliance with this person, but it was like, oh, we're in an alliance and we're the rock stars. And then they would like do air guitar whenever they were around each other. Or the thoroughbreds, where him and this other girl who was from Alabama, it was like, oh, you know, race horses and having horses, and being from the South was kind of their connection. And then he was connected with Christian, who's probably one of the most well-known players on Survivor history, who was they nicknamed him sometimes oh crap, what's the guy, Sheldon, what show is he from? Yeah, Big Bang Theory. Yeah, they were calling him Big Bang Theory, and he had an alliance with him called the Mason-Dixon line, which is like the line between Maryland and Kentucky. So pretty cool dude. A lot of people seem to think that he's a big threat, so him and Sandra were both of their names are being thrown around a lot last night. Ethan is the longest time winner of Survivor that's in this season, so he's not the first person to win, but he won Survivor Africa, which I think was season 3 actually. I think 4 was actually Pearl Island, so I think season 3 was Africa, where he won. And he has non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, or Hodgkin's lymphoma. He has cancer, and he didn't even know if he would be alive long enough to have the opportunity to play Survivor again, yet here he is. He has a charitable soccer organization. He's a soccer player, and his story is very touching, and he's a very nice guy, and the way that Survivor is played now is completely different than the way it was when he played, which was all really about loyalty. So I'm not sure he's going to do that well. There was definitely times where you could tell he was getting very intimidated. He was rolling over, he was laying down, he was really being kind of submissive, and I don't think that's going to serve him well. And I also think that his story is so heartwarming that people might try to get him out so that the jury doesn't vote for him out of basically compassion. So that's the cast of Survivor Season 40, the 20th year anniversary of Survivor. Now we'll quickly just recap what happened last night. So they were split into two tribes, Red Tribe and Blue Tribe. I forget the names of the actual tribe. The Blue Tribe consists of Boston Rob, who we nicknamed Bossy Rob because he was I already said this, he was playing very intimidating tactics last night, really kind of pressuring people, cornering them, steamrolling them into working with him, which I don't think is going to be effective in the long term. I was convinced he was going home last night. I was like, if this tribe is smart, they will vote him out first, and somehow they didn't, which was ridiculous. Natalie, Ethan, Parvati, Michelle, Denise, Adam, Jeremy, Danny, and Ben. So I talked about how Ben got steamrolled by Rob pretty effectively. Rob and Parvati decided to work together, so they're kind of like this power pair right now in that tribe. Parvati definitely demonstrated some hesitation on doing that. She didn't really seem to want to do that per se, but they kind of have no choice. They're these huge figures, they're icons, and they have to work together because they kind of need... It's like in other seasons when the winners of previous seasons want to work together, you kind of have to team up with people that are similar to you so that you don't get them out and then you're the only target left. They had effectively steamrolled Ethan, probably Michelle. Denise and Adam had filled a little pair, so Adam was calling himself her Malcolm. He's like, if I could be your Malcolm, that would just mean so much to me. And Malcolm was her right-hand man the whole time in her season. And Adam's kind of similar to Malcolm. He has this curly hair. He's like this young kid. And she was like, oh, you'll be my Jungle Boy number 2. So it was really cute, and I really enjoyed it. And then everybody targeted them because they had gone looking for the water well, and they had gotten lost. So everyone was convinced that they had not gotten lost, but they had been instead searching for idols. We didn't see them searching for idols. I'm not under the impression they did not do that they genuinely got lost and are targeted really unfairly. So that kind of stinks for them, but they made it through last night. Jeremy and Natalie on the same tribe, which they probably were really happy about because they get along really well, they want to work together, but unfortunately everyone could see that they were another power pair, and it ultimately resulted in someone going home, which I would say prematurely last night because it should have been Rob. Danny was, again, kind of going along with the Rob thing. You could see, like, Danny and Ben, maybe even Michelle, I would say probably Adam and Denise, they were reluctantly, and maybe even Ethan too, kind of reluctant to go along with Rob and Parvati. It was kind of like, in the beginning, as long as it's not you, as long as your name's not on the chopping block, you don't want to really make waves or play too hard. You kind of want to just, like, get through that first tribal. But I'm pretty sure these people are going to overthrow the whole Rob and Parvati BS that seems to be going on right now. So the first person who was voted out because of being part of a power pair, even though it should have been Rob,